Hey guys.
Hey guys.
I need a sip. I'm so thirsty. You look so pretty.
Oh, you look so pretty too. Of course.
Is this it? I get so much stuff about this mug. Is it huge?
No, I love my husband wants it.
I know what I want it to be full of right now.
See the
But
chat?
no.
I don't know if Teresa does that. Is anybody chatting yet?
Let me give the link. Here we go.
Yay.
Semi 35 minutes late on time.
It's okay.
It's all right.
We're here.
It's better late than ugly.
Yes. I'm like everything, so you know.
Hey, Crystal.
Hey, Crystal. I can't see the comments, so I'm just going to feed off of you.
Oh, you can also pull it. Well, if you can, pull it up on another device. There's just a little bit of a delay. Hey, Tom. Hey, DLV. Hey, Ashley. I know DLV. This case is horrific.
Hey guys, I'm going to get a phone so I can see the comments.
Okay, perfect. Yep. Hey, Miss MacGyver. Hey, Ashley.
I can't see the comments.
Hey, Deb.
Okay, I'm back.
Hey, Scott. Yeah, I know a lot of people. Some people follow this case, and some people really wanted to know more about it. So I figured we would tell her story. Hey, Angela. Hey, Tiffany.
Hey, Jolie. Hey, Tiffany.
Sorry, Angelina. My lighting is kind of crap, but how do we move this?
Oh, Lisa from Mississippi. That's awesome.
Hey, Jolie. I need my bowl of coffee. Hold on. Oh my gosh.
Family. Doing well too. Hi, Deborah.
I hate when you're so wired on coffee, but still tired. That's my current state.
It's like nothing helps.
Right. It doesn't matter how much. I'm still tired, but I'm like wired tired.
Exactly.
You've missed a lot since tea. Not much has been going on with that. I don't know. I have a thing with anniversaries, and since just a few days ago, it was the 11-year anniversary of Brittany's disappearance. I thought it would be a good time to, talk about her story. Only decaf. Oh no, I couldn't do it. Hey, Debbie.
It's behind the wall. This case is going to be on Brittanee Drexel, a girl that disappeared from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
But we're going to go into the whole case. So, Teresa. Hey, Teresa.
Hey, Teresa.
And I do have a ton of notes on this case, so I have to look down at them a little bit, but I won't have my head down and know I get in trouble for that.
I know. I'm having to look down at the comments. I'll try to not.
Hey, Tammy. Yeah, she is beautiful.
Yeah, she was such a gorgeous girl.
She was.
And
Maybe.
everybody brought so much light and was such a wonderful, fun person.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Yeah, this is a sad one. And I did want to say before we start, and I know some of you probably know some of the background maybe, and then like we were talking about in group today, some people don't. But I do want to say, I know we're all in true crime, so we probably are pretty hard into some of this stuff. We can talk about it at least. But there's those certain cases that still, even though we talk about all the time, that'll make me really emotional or kind of even nauseous to talk about. I just want to give a heads up. This is kind of one of those cases that I was actually having trouble sleeping last night reading the new information about it. Could be, I guess, triggering for some people. It is really graphic, some of it. So I just want to give people a heads up. I hate that when I'm watching something and then it just happens to be a topic that, hits me the wrong way. But just so you know, hey, Karima.
Warning.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, Karima. Hey, Crystal.
Yeah, she has those beautiful eyes. And I didn't know the history behind that either. So we have Beth on to talk about Brittany. She's really into this case too.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited.
Thanks for joining me, Beth.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, DLV, me too. Watching a bunch of documentaries on it and then taking notes yesterday and watching some of the new stuff on it. I think, especially as you get older, you start putting yourself in every parent's place. And there's a couple parts of this case too that, I don't know, as a parent, there's just so many little things that could have gone a different way that led up to this. And that's, I think, every parent's nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it is.
Yeah.
You don't have the closure. You don't have the closure. You have no idea what's going on when there's, no body ever found. And it's just, I can't imagine that.
Well, yeah. And I mean, I was a rebellious teenager. And at that age, when you're 17, like she was, you think that you're invincible. You don't want to listen to your parents. And that's a lot of teenagers. And it's just kind of normal teenage choices. And then a combination of just awful timing and bad people.
Right.
Oh, Karima, you've never heard about this case. So I figure we'll start from the beginning, and because I think it's important to go through the background. And then there's actually some new stuff I found that is new from just the past several months. So I'm going to start with that first, just because of the date. And like I said, I have a thing with anniversaries, and I don't know, I think it's a good way to honor her memory. And so on April 25th, it's been 11 years. And I remember when I first heard about this, and I can't believe it's 11 either. So on April 25th, 2009, she went missing, but I did want to give you a little bit of her background. She was a sweet, sweet girl. She was from Rochester, New York, the western part. And when she was younger, she's a tiny, tiny little girl. And when she was younger, she was really fast. And her friends and family said that she was really good at soccer, that she was a really happy little girl, really spunky, really full of energy, just a little ball of fire. And she moved from Rochester to Chile, New York when she was little, but she still kept a lot of her acquaintances. And then as far as her eyes, and I mean, she's got beautiful, captivating eyes. And I was reading that she was born with a degenerative eye disease in her right eye. And she had multiple surgeries growing up on it. And she was kind of self-conscious about it because after she had the surgeries, it tended to wander. And she was a little self-conscious. So she got these light blue contacts. And with her gorgeous dark skin and her, light brownish blondish hair that was kind of her signature thing. And you can, that's like the thing that pops out in pictures, but she's just a gorgeous, gorgeous girl.
She is.
I know. And I want to show, I tried to find as many pictures as I could of her. I'll pull those up in just a second. I was watching her mom's interview earlier today, and it just broke my heart. I was watching some of her childhood pictures and at birthday parties and stuff, and she was just kind of full of life. And I don't know, she reminds me a little bit, I think, of my daughter in that respect when I was watching those earlier. But what was really, thank you, what was really upsetting to me was that things were kind of going, I don't know, Beth, you know more about this a little bit. We were talking about this right before we came on, but Brittany did struggle with depression a little bit. And it wasn't anything severe from what I could tell until around 2008. And in 2008, her parents separated. And when her parents separated, it had a huge impact on Brittany. And she did spiral down into a depression. And Beth, what were you saying about that earlier? Because you had a little more information on that than I did.
Right. She really went in. Her parents said that she was sleeping late, acting out things that she just would never normally do. Her boyfriend, Sean, actually spoke and said that, she had been acting differently. And there had been several times she'd been really upset. She actually attempted suicide twice on pain medication. They feel like it was a cry for help in this situation, and that's partially why, even though she didn't tell her parents that she was going, her boyfriend knew she was and actually thought it would be a good thing for her because she had been going through such a hard time to, have a break. So that was kind of led into that.
So I do want to say that, and we want to be sensitive to the victims too, but at the same time, the whole story is important. And so I do think that's an important part of the story because it was kind of the building blocks, if you will, of what was leading up to this point. And like I was saying earlier, it's like and this is how things always happen, and why I think as a parent too, I get anxiety, is it's like every bad thing kind of lines up together for this perfect storm. And then something like this happens.
Right.
And so in 2008, she was sad. She was, fighting with her mom, which all kids do at that age. I know I did.
Right.
And she there's a lot of tension. She was living with her mom, but she was still really close with her dad. And she decided in April 2009, she wanted to go to Myrtle Beach with her friends and spend the week. But being that she was 17, and this is the same thing I would have said to my daughter as well, her mom said, no, I don't know your friends that are going. I don't know, there's no adult chaperones. And I don't feel comfortable with it. So, would have been the same answer that I would have given her. And one relief, I wrote this down and I had to look at it because one of the really, really sad things, I don't know if you read this, Beth, that got to me was her mom said that before, when they were talking about it and she asked her if she could go, her mom had this sick pit in her stomach and basically said that she had this premonition that if she did go, something horrible was going to happen to her.
She did.
Mm-hmm. And I think all of us as parents, we know that feeling. Just that I've had that with both of my kids. Just you can't even explain it or put your finger on it, but you just feel like something's wrong. Right. And so she tried to follow that feeling and tell her no. And, at 17, she didn't want to listen.
Right.
So, and that's so sad too. Thank God for Life 360. Exactly. Because I don't think they didn't have that back then.
Right. That's right.
I have no problems tracking my daughter.
Right. And you think 2008 was, 10 years or years and years ago.
Mm-hmm. And now I think it's a little easier to track your kids, but at the same time, you know, they're smart. They can
Oh yeah.
try to get out of that. But I do think it's sad because she also said that she had called. So this friend that Brittany said that she was going to go stay for the week in Rochester, she called her mom, Dawn, and they put someone on the phone who sounded like an adult.
Yep.
And I mean, it was just, and so they really put some thought into it. And she talked to them. They said, no, it's fine. She can stay for the week. And she thought there was a parent there and that it was all good.
Right.
And then I think it was, let's see, April 22nd when they left and they drove down to Myrtle Beach from Rochester. And it was a 13-hour drive, if I remember correct.
Mm-hmm. And there were 40, they said there were 30 to 40 kids that were going there from Rochester. They said that's actually really normal for them to come all the way down to Myrtle Beach. So that's a long ways, but yeah, her mom had said she thought there was about 30 to 40 people that were planning on going, but they weren't her close friends. You know, these were some people that she didn't know as well. And her boyfriend said he didn't know them as well either, but he thought that they were nice people. So
yeah. And I should mention, she did have a boyfriend at the time. And she'd wanted him to go, but he couldn't because he had work, things that he had to do. So he was kind of the only one. He knew she was going down and she was keeping in touch with him. And obviously he wasn't going to say anything to her mom at that time. So she had, I think it was, do you remember? I think she had 2 girlfriends with her in their little
right,
kind of clique that went down there.
there were 2. That's right. They interviewed both of them.
Mm-hmm. And so they got down there, and I think they got down there on the 23rd, and they were just basically doing what, you know, kids do on spring break. They were on the beach. They were going out to clubs. Even though she's 17, I did read that that's what they were doing that night at night.
I actually,
Yeah.
went there on my senior trip. I stayed in the same hotel as Brittany did.
Okay.
We actually had a chaperone with us, an adult. But I will say the clubs down there are all about money, and they
Mm-hmm.
will let 16 and 17-year-olds in.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And when did you stay there? What's that area like? Because I've never been to Myrtle Beach. I would love to hear what it's like right there.
Well, I would hate to give my age, but this was some years ago that I went. This would have actually been in '99. So, you know, it's a party town. It's a spring break town. And the strip in Myrtle Beach is full of clubs and restaurants and bars and hotels. And it's a really busy area. A lot of kids go there. So it really is kind of set up for that type of thing. Now, there are places in Myrtle Beach that are beautiful and things like that. But as far as the strip, it's kind of a party area.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard it's beautiful. And, you know, we've talked about it a little bit with Gannon's case, since Tisha was from there. And I've heard differing things as far as safety goes, too. I wonder if there's anyone in comments that lives in Myrtle Beach. Because I've heard differing things. I was telling you earlier that there were some people in our group talking about during Gannon's case about how the safety's kind of changed or seems to be a little bit less than it used to. But like I said, I've never been, so I don't know about that to speak on it. Some clubs there.
Yeah, it's probably worsened over the years, I would say, than it was when we went.
Yeah.
So I've heard. It's much worse now, depending on where you stay. But like as far as the strip is concerned, and those hotels and bars and clubs, it's apparently worse than it used to be.
Yeah. And I agree. Sorry, glanced over for a minute. I didn't want to lose my place. But Crystal, I agree. You would think that in a lot of places on spring break, there's extremely high police presence. I don't know what the scenario was there at the time, but yeah, you would think that.
Right. Right. There is a high police presence through there. They're definitely monitoring, but like I said, you could be 16, 17 years old and get into a club, no problem.
Yeah. And I know it's like that in other places, like in Mexico for spring break and stuff like that. But, and I bring up the clubs
Right.
because what's important to mention, there was a guy that was down there in, the group you were talking about that came down, an acquaintance, I would call more than a friend, that came down from Rochester, and he was a 20-year-old club promoter from New York, and she had seen him on the beach. And it looks like to me, like when she first got down there, things were fun. She was texting her boyfriend that she was having a good time. But then,
Peter,
uh, huh?
that's his name.
Yes, I was trying to be careful. I didn't know if I wanted to use his last name because I was reading some interesting things online. And I know technically he's never been,
Oh no.
yeah, go ahead. I'm thirsty anyways. We'll call him, Peter.
Vanessa.
Peter B.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, we'll just say Peter.
yeah. You never found it to be trashy anywhere on the Grand Strand? That's what Debbie says. Yeah, Kay Cooper, I heard it is gorgeous. Yeah,
Yeah,
but just
I
like
totally, completely agree, Kay Cooper. North Myrtle, there is some beautiful places in Myrtle Beach. Most of all of that type of activity is on the Strip,
mm-hmm.
which is just a certain part of Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
But it is a very, very beautiful area, and I would visit there anytime, but probably at this age wouldn't stay on the Strip.
Yeah. And so Peter B, he was down there, and actually I have a picture of him, and I will pull it up. Bear with me because he was there, and she saw him on the beach, and she wasn't getting along with her friends. She was texting her boyfriend that she wasn't really getting along with her friends very well. She said that, I think she used the word that she felt like an outsider. They just weren't, clicking very
Right.
well. I think, as you'll find a lot of times when you have any group of 3 girls together, especially at that age, it's not going to work really well, but they just weren't getting along. Oh, hey, Rachel. Thank you, Conscious Truth. So anyway, Peter's down there. She sees him on the beach, and he's with 2 friends of his own. So she decides, since she and her friends are not getting along that night, that she's going to go leave her friends and go see him instead. Let me see. Let me pull up my other picture. I have a little picture of Peter here. That's him, and that's him at the time. I saw another recent one too. So that's Peter B. And so they knew each other, and this we'll play into it in a minute. And I'd love to hear your theories on this, Beth, because we're giving you the background now, and then there are some crazy theories around what actually happened, and even up into today, what if she's alive or not. But Peter, she runs into Peter, and he is staying, what is it, like a mile and a half, Beth, down the road, I believe it is, at the Blue Water Inn. I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, the Blue Water. Mm-hmm. It was only about a mile from her hotel.
Yeah, and I have a picture of that as well. And, she's walking. So it's about a 20-minute walk from her place to his. So she decides at 8 o'clock that night on the 25th that she's going to walk down there. And it's dark. There we go. And that's where he was staying. So she did call her mom that day, which is really sad. I was watching her mom's interview about her last conversation with Brittany. She did call her mom, and she said that, she was having a good time with her friends and that she was at the beach. Well, at that point, it was 83 degrees in New York. So she thought, when she said she was at the beach, that she was at the beach at Lake Ontario. And they told each other, they loved each other. And that was the last time that she ever talked to Brittany. So then that brings us up to the 25th. So she, at 8 p.m., and Please feel free to jump in here with any details I'm leaving out, because I think it was at 8, correct, that she left her friends and walked down to his hotel.
Right.
Yeah. And there's
That's right.
CCTV footage, right, of
She
her.
also said that friends were.
Let me pull this up. There we go. There we go. There we go. Keep going, Beth.
She also had mentioned, if you get the chance on ID channel, there's a documentary called Disappeared. She had told her boyfriend that these people were doing drugs and that it was making her uncomfortable. She didn't like to be in that situation. So not only were they not being absolutely, they were being catty to her and not treating her very well. They also were doing drugs, which made her really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I did read that too. So, and again, I know I talked about at the beginning how sad it is that her mom had the bad premonition, but it's also sad that she was basically communicating to her boyfriend that she wished she would have never gone in the first place and that she would have stayed
Right.
home. So, I mean, it's
Right.
just really sad that she regretted going, disobeying her mom, and was having a miserable time on top of what, was about to happen. And so, do you have
Right.
your timeline? Because I know yours is a little more detailed than mine. Because I think when she walks into the Blue Water Inn, I didn't have a timestamp on that, but I know that right after she gets there, right, her friend wants her shorts back that Brittany borrowed.
The second she got there, she was only there just for a few minutes, and the security camera verified that. The girl apparently wanted her shorts, and she wanted them right that minute. And so Brittany left the hotel and headed back to hers.
So despite walking in the dark for 20 minutes down there, her friend had to have the shorts that she was wearing right then. So she had to turn around and walk another 20 minutes back in the dark to the hotel.
That's right.
Which, if that was what was going on, I kind of understand why she was having a miserable time.
Right. And she was frustrated. Probably she told her boyfriend that she was just going to go back and pack and get ready to leave. She was so ready to come home.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to pull up. Actually, I have that. This is the one, and there's one last image of her. I don't know if you saw it. So after she turns around to leave, she's not up there very long, and Peter is in his room with 2 other men. I don't know if you got their names or not, but he is in there with 2 guys. She's barely in there, and then she leaves.
Yep, they took a video of her.
And so after the CCTV footage, there is a traffic cam that catches her walking towards Bar Harbor back to her hotel. So we know that she was headed that direction. And I have, let's see where that is. I had a timeline. I think technically the time was 8:48.
Right. It was 8:48.
I believe.
Yep.
Here we go. So she
she left her hotel. That would make sense.
No, go ahead. This delay sucks. I hate it.
Oh, I know.
And I think I wanted to put the phone call in because basically we go from 8:48 p.m. when she leaves his place, and then when is the text she sends her boyfriend?
She sent a text to John. They texted several times. John is her boyfriend. And they texted back and forth several times. So they were basically texting the whole time that she was walking home. Okay. And so all of a sudden, he quits hearing from her. She's not responding. She didn't make it to the second traffic camera. We know that because it didn't catch her. Only the first one did. So it's somewhere in that area. But she was texting him, and then he was texting back. And after 30 minutes had gone by, he was even threatening her. If you don't answer, I'm going to tell your parents. exactly what's going on. And he knew that when she did not answer that, he called her mother immediately and then proceeded to go to her mom's house.
Okay, so when she left at 8:48, she's walking towards it. We have the one picture, and so if she texted him at 9, so from your time, it looks like she disappeared then between 9 and I guess the 9:30 mark.
That's right.
And I think if I remember correctly, she texted him something like, "I'm going to go home." Like I think you said it earlier. "I'm going to go home. I'm going to pack and go to bed," or something like that. And he said, "Why?" And that was right around that 9 o'clock timestamp.
Right.
And then let's see, unless you have something before that, the next timestamp that we have is that right there, that 9:27 cell ping at Surfside Beach, which is 7 miles south of where she was last seen walking.
Right.
And I don't know, is he still texting her at that point?
No. The last text that he got, I have that he started to freak out at about, her last text was at 9, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few minutes. So it says that an hour later, he actually threatened to call her mother. So that was the final straw. He knew that something was seriously wrong if she didn't respond to that.
Okay. And then the next text or the next ping we have is at 11:58. She pings in Georgetown, which is 50 miles south. And then after that, the phone goes dead. They don't know if it was, whatever happened. It went dead. It was the battery was taken out, whatever. But that's the last cell phone activity from Brittany's phone.
Right.
The comments. Angelina, this was 2009. So it was 11 years ago, April 25th.
Right.
And I wrote down a couple weird things, but I don't know if you read about Peter. So one of the weird things here
The guy
is
that she
that,
met.
yeah. And this is why there was a lot of, I think naturally, I'd love to hear what you guys think in comments about that whole aspect, especially those of you who followed the case. But Peter randomly and abruptly checked out of his hotel at 1 a.m. He, from what I read, correct me if I'm wrong, he forfeited his deposit, packed up his stuff, and him and his 2 friends drove back to New York at 1 a.m.
Right.
And yeah, but there was no reason. They were supposed to be down there longer. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
right. They left their clothes. They didn't pay a deposit, anything, or didn't get back their deposit. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's obviously strange. And then on top of that, she hadn't been reported missing until the next day, but he lawyered up. He made the 13-hour drive back and lawyered up that next morning, which I thought was another interesting fact. Samantha, no, Peter is not her boyfriend. Her boyfriend's name was John, and Peter was just an acquaintance that she saw down there from New York. And since she wasn't getting along with her friends, she was hanging out with Peter. And she had just, what a lot of people think is suspicious, she just walked to his hotel, went up there for a few minutes, and had to turn around and leave. And then she disappeared.
Right.
Yeah, they did leave in a hurry. So, I don't know. I don't know why you would up and leave at 1 a.m. before she's technically missing.
Right.
No one knows anything's wrong at this point.
Right. Well, they said her parents once he called her parents, they contacted the Rochester police. And the police basically said, it's not our jurisdiction. So she had a friend that lived in North Carolina. And so she contacted that friend, and that friend, her mother, Dawn, did. And that friend immediately went to Myrtle Beach, drove there, and went straight to the Myrtle Beach police.
Mm-hmm.
So
did you read about, I went to multiple different sources and I kind of got differing accounts, if you will. But one of the things that I did see on a couple different places is that her friends did not look for her at all.
No. No.
And I thought, I don't know if that's true, but that's what I read. So I'm looking at comments too. So that was what was reported and what that I read, that her friends weren't even, and the only reason that they stayed down in Myrtle Beach a couple extra days was because detectives wanted to talk to them. So
right.
That's why. No, I guess I can't. Sorry, guys. I can't do comments because it hides Beth, and I don't want to hide Beth. Yeah, Tiffany, I agree. They don't sound like the best friends.
No, I don't think they were very good friends. And, she wasn't even very close. I've seen her best friend interviewed. She wasn't super close with these people. I think it was just opportunity. They were going, she somewhat knew them. And so she went.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if I read it right, they were giving her a lot of crap about not being able to go. She's already in a bad place. Right. So I don't know. But yeah, it sounds like a miserable time. They don't sound like great friends.
It does.
Trying to see if I could throw any questions. I agree, Nicole. And there's new information that came out recently, whether it's true or not. We don't know at this point. But so, and you kind of went into it when it was her boyfriend that alerted her mom that she was in Myrtle Beach and missing the next day.
Right.
And when
they left
and did they go down that day to go look for her?
The next, her mom, her boyfriend, her grandparents, and then 2 other friends that drove straight to Myrtle Beach. And then, like I said, she'd had the friend that had already driven from North Carolina.
So that's got to be hard too. She didn't even know she was there. So she's got to process the fact that she left and then that she's missing. So her worst fear basically happened.
Right.
I agree, Joan. That is the worst. Unresolved cases, cold cases. And I apologize, Angelina. I'm missing a lot of the comments because I get sidetracked with my story. I'm so ADD. So I'm just like focusing, but I'm going to go back and read and I can see I missed what you said, but I promise I'll go back and read it.
Her mom said that drive down there was absolutely the worst time of her life because 13 hours, you imagine driving in a car 13 hours. That had to just be for both her parents, her friends, her grandparents, her boyfriend. I felt terrible for him because, encouraging her to go. And I thought, oh, don't feel bad about that because she had no idea,
Yeah, I agree. And let me pull this, what else I had. And if I understand correctly, they went down there and they started looking for her, obviously. And there was just no trace of her. No one knew anything. They couldn't find anything. It was just completely cold. There we go.
Right.
And you can see she's just a tiny, tiny little thing.
She weighed like 100 pounds. She was so little.
Yeah. Oh, she's tiny. Yeah, she's tinier than my 13-year-old daughter.
Yeah, very, very little. Her boyfriend and her friend both said, they had to watch out for her all the time because they just felt like she's so little and she was so, independent and just thought she could do anything. And so they said they always had to keep an eye on her because she was just so small and
yeah,
sweet,
Susie.
So.
You're right. And I didn't even mention that. Another part that's so sad about this is when she was little, her dad left and her mom remarried a guy named Chad, and he adopted her, and that was her dad. And then when she was 16, her and her birth dad reconciled, and they were kind of just beginning a relationship and just starting to get to know each other. So I saw his interview too, and it's just heartbreaking.
It is.
I agree, Angelina, with her size too. I mean, she didn't really have, even if it was a populated, and I've seen a lot of people talk about that online. It's such a populated place. How did she just vanish without anyone seeing her? I mean, yeah, I don't think it would be very hard to snatch her up, and especially at night, no one might have seen it. Yeah, Kay Cooper, I agree. And we're going to get to that. She's talking about all the ports, and I've seen people talking about that in other groups about ports where their ships come and go and the human trafficking issue.
Right.
Kay Cooper just said human trafficking is big around there. And we were just having that discussion before we came on about the differing kind of reports from investigators about that. So unless you, I mean, and basically I couldn't find anything from her disappearance, and when they were looking for her until July of 2016. Did you?
Right. No.
So cut to July 2016, and that's kind of the first time there's any new information on the cold case. And how her mom and dad got through that time, I have no idea. I couldn't go that long without knowing where my baby was. That's absolutely horrific. And in party places, Angelina says, in party places, please keep things quiet too. Right, exactly.
Right.
So in 2016 in July, this jailhouse informant, and I have a picture of him as well, Taquan Brown, came forward with the new information. And let's see. And he said that now he didn't want to cooperate with the investigation at first. He was nervous, but he eventually did. And he said that Brittany was kidnapped, that he knew what happened. She was kidnapped, that she was brought to a, whatever you want to call it, stash house, trap house, in McClellanville, where she was held for 5 days.
Right. And that's very far away from, it's an hour away. Is the last time her cell phone pinged was an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you were telling me about McClellanville.
So they said going southbound on Route 17, and that was at 9:27. So they were driving they said that the way that her phone pinged, they knew they were in a vehicle.
Mm-hmm. Because she couldn't walk that fast down there.
Right, on that tower. It did at 11:58 on that tower. 3:32 was the final time that it pinged. And that's 50 miles. That's Georgetown County. That's about 50 miles from Myrtle Beach. It's right on the North Santee, right near the North Santee River. It's extremely rural area.
And was I reading that right? Is it like very a fisherman town? McClellanville?
I've heard it described, as a rougher area, in this exact area. It was right there on the river. And the problem with that area, period, especially for the search and rescue parties that came out, tons of volunteers, tons of search and rescue, was the wildlife. They've got a lot of dangerous animals right in there: alligators, wild hogs, snakes, insects, all kinds of things like that. And the investigators actually said that if she was alive out there, she would have been eaten or killed by some type of animal within about 4 hours. So you can imagine what a dangerous marshy. I mean, just they said it was so hard on the search and rescue team to even get through this area. It is so, you know.
Yeah, I was trying to, and I think it said something like population of like 499 people or something like that.
Right. Right.
And so I'm just trying. I know, Angelina, and this is where when I was saying earlier, we're gonna get into some of the details that he gave investigators. So they're awful. So if that's gonna be upsetting, I just want to give a heads up that it's pretty horrific what he told them. I guess, but I don't think that that's what happened, because was he from that area and he's incarcerated there?
Right.
And
from what I can understand,
keep going. Well, I'm going to pull up a picture while you're talking.
Right. From what I can understand, he is from there. And it's almost certain that she wasn't, out in the wild. They even said that when they brought in search and rescue dogs, I wanted to talk to Susie about this. When they brought in the search and rescue dogs, they had 6 shooters there to fire off guns, period. It's so dangerous, just so the dogs could go in to search for her.
That's spelled wrong. I don't know why that screenshot is. That's not how you spell that town, but is it really that far south of Georgetown? Now I've got to Google it. Or someone else can.
It is.
It is?
It's southbound.
Okay. So I wanted to look up. I'm a weird detail person. I want to see the exact distance from there to, because there's a second round of information that came out in 2019 that put her even farther out. So
right. It was 50 miles from Myrtle Beach to Georgetown County, which is where she was, where her last ping was.
Okay. So he said that that he went to, there's another guy involved, and I'm going to pull him up in just a second. Deshaun Taylor.
Right.
And he's saying that he went over there to this house and went to go pay Deshaun's dad money, and that they were drug dealers. And he said that when he went, that there were, I mean, I read all different things. I don't know what you read, 10 to 12 people.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
And so, it was a drug house. He admitted that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So she was over an hour. So from McClellanville, yeah, right. It's like 57 miles an hour and 12 minutes. And let's see if I have the other guy here. Deshaun Taylor was the other guy. And he's saying that he went to pay his dad, correct, for drugs. And Brittany was there being assaulted by 10 to 12 different men.
Yes.
Which is, it makes me sick to my stomach to think about.
I can't imagine her parents when they heard that. That just had to be.
No. And I don't have I have it on fire, which I'll get to in a second, but I don't, I think this is it. And this makes it all the more horrific, you guys, because I can't imagine spending what she was going through and where she was. I mean, she went through hell.
Yes. For days.
Yeah. I know, it's awful. And if what he says is true, then it was at least 5 days, if I remember correctly. And he had changed his story a few times. At first, I don't know what you read, but I read once, and then he said that he saw her at least 4 times after her disappearance. I know it. Me too, Joan. She said it sickened her to her core. Me too.
I pray they had drugged her to Angelina.
Me too, because I mean, just looking at that, I mean, that house is like something out of nightmares.
I mean, it's bad sounds. You know, I hope that she was at least out of it and not completely understanding everything that was happening to her, because that's horrible to think about.
Yep. So that was he said that he went out there, and then he changed it the second time they talked to him, but we're still in 2016 when he first talked to investigators, and he says that she was held at this stash house, as he called it, and she was being assaulted by 10 to 12 different men. And that while he was there, she had escaped and ran out of the house. And that they had caught up with her, got her back in, and pistol whipped her. And now here's where the story changes and where it will come in later into play. Mm-hmm. He says that he heard 2 gunshots and assumed that she was dead at that point, and that he then saw them carry something out in a rug and assumed that it was her. And that's the version he gave in 2016. Hey, Leanne. So, and I didn't get the date. I need to look that up really quick on the fire.
Right.
But that was his first version, and I'm sure, it was awful for her parents to hear. They finally thought that they got a little bit of closure based on it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you as far as the closure.
Except they didn't believe that version, did they?
Well, in the first documentary they did, the police told them, we believe that she has been murdered. Of course, they tried to say we don't have a large sex trade, which is pretty much where everyone tries to say, but obviously the sex trade's everywhere. And so her parents wanted to believe, in order, I think, for them to even believe that she was still alive, that she actually was in the sex trade, despite what the police were telling them. They believed that at the time, but since this new information has come out, they haven't spoken on that that I know of. So I'm not sure if they, at this point, believe this story.
Well, and I left out one part because it actually does, believe it or not, get worse. The rest of his story is that after they had killed her, that they, I don't even know how nice I said, they had basically disposed of her in an alligator pit, and that her remains have been eaten by alligators.
Right. And that would possibly explain why unless she is somewhere in the sex trade, that would explain why they would not find a body.
Yeah, and they did go down there and they searched the house, they searched, I think there was something like 40 alligator pits or something like that, all together. Sorry, I have to grab something. And they didn't find a trace of her, if I remember correctly. And I don't know. I know that they're getting facts and details, but I can't imagine hearing that happened to my child.
No. And 2 people on a boat, I think it was sad for them too, getting this form of hope. 2 people that were out on a boat found a pair of sunglasses, and they knew what was going on in the area and things. And they called law enforcement, and I have the date of that written down, but they called law enforcement and let them know. They went out, they retrieved the sunglasses, and they ultimately determined that they would not be hers. They were in better shape than what, and no one in her family recognized them. So I think that was a glimmer of hope, and that's really sad that, it didn't end up leading to anything.
I agree. And I don't even know if that were, sorry, you guys, I had a little technical emergency there. I don't even know if I would want to know any of those details if that were, I don't even know. I couldn't handle it. So I don't even know if I'd want to know any of those details.
Right.
So we've got basically, it looks like a split. Some people believe that story and some don't.
Right.
Yeah, I was just trying to see. And then, like I said, I wanted to look up the date on the fire because I know that this lovely drug stash house burned down.
Burned down. How convenient.
Hey, Queen. Yeah, exactly. And I have a picture of that too. Where'd it go? This was it. And that's the address of that. And I also have the trailer. There's a little twist on this as well. So they questioned him, and of course, Deshaun Taylor denies any involvement, of course, and he actually says he doesn't even know the informant. He says he doesn't know who he is, never heard of him, denies all involvement. He is on probation or parole for another robbery that he was in jail for, but he does have pending charges, federal charges against him. And they're hoping that if they can get him in, he'll talk and they can get some more information on Brittany's disappearance. Exactly,
Right.
Leanne. Yep. Ellie thinks sex trafficking.
Yeah, the trafficking thing. That's the big, that's the big thing is he lying and telling this story to cover up for the fact that she was put into the sex traffic rings, or is she in fact deceased? It's a really That's kind of where it comes in as to what you think happened.
Yeah, and what's interesting though is there was another inmate, and I think it was, let me see, it was in Georgetown County Jail. He came forward and corroborated Taquan Brown's story and said that, yeah, that's what happened. He had seen her too, that she was being kept in this house and being assaulted by multiple different men that Deshaun Taylor had been inviting his friends over and kind of advertising her. And so they did have a little bit of corroboration, but there's just no proof. And then I finally found it.
Right.
So it was just this year. So then conveniently, and during this year, Taquan's been talking to media outlets and he's been telling them, this is as of 2019, he's been changing his story. And I have a picture of it, but he's now saying that no, it didn't happen there, that actually she was taken from the stash house to a trailer that his uncle owns, and that's actually where she died. He's saying now that he witnessed her murder,
Right.
he actually saw it, and that she was shot twice with a double barrel shotgun. I have my own opinions on that. Let me find the picture of and it was in Jacksonboro, is where he's saying now that he's changed his story. I'll pull it up really quick. Here it is, which is equally horrible. And he's saying that this was out in the middle of nowhere. It's 130 miles from where she was taken. And he's saying that this is his uncle's, I think it was his Uncle Henry, I believe, and that this was actually where she was killed. And we were talking about this before we came on. Coincidentally, he's filed a civil suit because he says that now that he cooperated in this investigation, that he's been labeled a snitch and he's afraid for his life, and then he changed the story. Listen to that.
Yeah, so now he's changing it
Yeah,
to keep himself alive, possibly.
Yeah. So I think that this is just complete BS. It's just my opinion. We were talking about that I think that he's changing his story now to take it away from that whole group. And now he's saying, no, it was my uncle's property that did it after 3 years. And, you know, just trying to protect himself.
Right.
Exactly, Samantha. Lupus and me. No, this trailer belongs to, so the jailhouse informant that told them what they think happened to Brittany, his uncle owns this trailer out in rural South Carolina. And he's now saying that she was killed, that her last day or two, she was kept here and then she was killed here. But that's not what he had originally said. And it's not what lines up with some of the other informants and witnesses that they've had. I know, Leanne, it's awful. And I haven't seen the lawsuit update that I saw was December of 2019. So I don't have any updates after that. You're welcome, Lupus. And so there's a lot of stuff online I was reading about. You know, a lot of people wonder, did her friend Peter set her up? Is it a coincidence that her friends and her were arguing and she left his hotel and then she was snatched? I guess he has a lot of interesting connections up where he's from as a club promoter, and they wondered if that had anything to do with it. Yeah, it is.
Who knows? What do you think?
I've gone back and forth, and I don't know. I mean, you know what? At first, when you were talking about it and you're saying, I think that she was trafficked, I'm like, I don't know. You know, I was reading the details of the story. I can see it. But actually, after he changed his story, I don't know. I think with no evidence, and it does sound like, you know, they were abusing her and, you know, sexual assault was the main goal there. I mean, it's definitely possible.
Right.
Exactly.
And it's hard to, you know, saying. So, I mean, he's changed his story. It's, you know, there is a great possibility that he is just telling this and knows that she's already in the trade, you know.
And I don't mean this to come out the wrong way, but I really do think about this type of stuff. This is just how my mind works. I don't know what's worse, because I don't know. I don't know what's worse, for them to think the story that he told, or for them to think that she is out there in being trafficked.
That's right.
That's true, Debbie. It could have been an accident. They sold her and left. That's, you know, that's actually, and that piece is important, because the one piece that I need to read more on that and follow up if there's more information. I really don't think that there is the part with them, the guy she just visited, Peter and his buddies, up and leaving at 1 a.m. And then she happens to be snatched, just 3 hours, 4 hours before that, losing the deposit. I don't,
right.
That looks, and then he lawyers up the next morning. So,
right.
Why? She hasn't even been reported. Yeah. Why is he lawyering up before she's actually confirmed, you know, missing and in danger? I don't understand it.
No, me neither. That's pretty shocking, because, you know, kids disappear sometimes on spring break. You know, they go somewhere, they drunk, they pass out there, and it's really shocking to me that he took that approach so quickly.
I agree. And then you can go down the whole rabbit hole. There's all kinds of stuff online about, you know, his family's connections. Is it normal for a 20-year-old to be a club promoter?
Right.
Who texted her old man?
I know, it's so horrific. It's one of the worst.
So yeah, I think that
Not
piece
that they're
it
terrible,
is.
and
It's awful. It's awful on so many levels, but I
it
do agree
is.
that that's. I wonder though, and I'd love to see what I don't know what your opinion is on this, but her girlfriends. Um, I mean, one could look at it like she got there. Do you really need the shorts? I'm sure you're a girl. They probably had 50 pairs of shorts they packed. Were they being catty and petty, or were they getting her to leave the hotel?
Yeah, that's true.
So,
I've
and
heard, so many different theories. I've heard theories that friends set her up for this, I don't know.
mhm. Laura, we're discussing Brittanee Drexel, who went missing 11 years ago this April from Myrtle Beach. Yeah, she's tiny. So I do think that part's weird too. I mean, I guess it could be girls being catty, but you also said that they weren't close. They didn't look for her. That's strange too. I don't know. Even if I didn't know someone very well or wasn't very close friends with them, you better believe would be looking for her.
That's
If
exactly
that's
right.
true. Yeah. So if that's true, that's highly
I think
suspicious as
she's
well.
kind of yeah, I think she's kind of the one they kind of ganged up on her. You know how girls will do. I think that those girls kind of were ganging up onto her, and she told John that they were being extremely rude to her, and she just wished she could just come home, which is so sad to me. That she didn't.
Uh, Lupus and me, no, they have never found her body. They never found any trace of her. Um, and no, nothing. And now that house is burned
Right.
down this year. And
I agree, Debbie. Her friends would have been hysterical. I know that if it was one of my friends and they didn't show up, I would be hysterical. I would have already called the police myself. She wouldn't have had to have her friend come from North Carolina to contact the Myrtle Beach police. I mean, I don't know. That's very strange to me. I can think it kind of speaks to the character of those girls.
I agree. Dana, you said you called who out? You called Peter out? Sorry, I'm missing comments. So I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. So I'm catching some of them, but also looking at my notes. So yeah, you called him out before. I'd love to hear more about that.
I agree, Tom. Test. I don't know why people won't just take a lie detector test and clear their name if they're innocent. That is just me. I would offer that first thing.
Thanks, Samantha. Well, you can tell when I drift off and start paying attention to comments, I'm like, I completely lose. I was doing it at the beginning, completely lose what I'm talking about. And I didn't want to leave out any details because all the details are important, of course. And this case is just awful. Um,
Right.
hold up. Dana says it happened so long ago. Your roommate knew her. Yeah, I'd love to hear more, Dana.
Oh wow, Dana. That's that your roommate knew her.
So, what are your thoughts on the her friends and Peter? Then, obviously, you think that Peter's sketchy.
Right. And you know, her saying that they were into drugs could be involved. He might have been scared that the cops were going to come into their hotel room. There is multiple reasons that he says that the reason they left so quickly is because one of the other guy's mother didn't know he was down there and was pitching a fit. So that's why they left so quickly. But that still
Wow.
seems strange to me that you wouldn't even get a deposit back. That seems really strange.
I agree. How old were the girls? I think they were all 17, if I remember, 17, 18.
They were, yeah, I think they were older than she was.
Oh, I missed it again. Let's see. Let's see what Dana said. So, Dana, you do think that?
Oh, she says that.
So you do think that he set her up? Well, then you've got to. If you think
Right.
that, then don't you almost have to think that it's possible that her friends were? Because I mean, she walked all that way, and then they lured her right back out into the street. Maxine, yeah, they would probably be about 29, 30, 28, 29.
I agree, Maxine. They'd probably be around 29 at this point. I think they were between 18 and 20. I want to say.
Oh, were they? So she was younger than they were.
I agree,
And I know
Vanessa.
Yeah, I do too. And I don't know. I mean, only they know, I guess. But what I do know is the reports I was reading was that they couldn't be bothered, and they only stayed down there because detectives wanted them to, so that they could question them about her disappearance.
Right. They told him not to leave town.
Mm-hmm. And I don't care if you're 17, 18. At 17, 18, I mean, at 10 or 11, I would have gone out to help somebody. I don't think it's a maturity thing. I think it's a character thing. That's a good question. Are they school friends, Beth?
Some of them did go to high school with her, and I think some of them had already graduated. I guess she just went with this group. I guess they were trying to get her to go and things, but it is odd that she was, desperately wanting to go. It was kind of odd that they weren't close friends of her, and obviously ended up being terrible friends. But yeah,
It makes me
some of
wonder.
them, yeah, high school with her.
What makes you kind of wonder why she wanted to go with them in the first place?
Right. And you have to think 30 to 40 people going, there'll be different age groups that her mom said 30 to 40 went from Rochester to Myrtle Beach. And so that would be, I'm sure, various age groups, but more than likely a lot of seniors, because that is a senior trip around here. I'm from North Carolina, and you go to Myrtle Beach for your senior trip, kind of like a rite of passage.
I don't think she was pledging for a sorority. I don't know. I could try to look it up.
No.
Yeah, maybe she was. Oh, she wasn't.
Schools.
This is interesting, and I forgot to bring this up. So Peter, his dad, his dad's employers have a boat docked in the marina that's just a few miles from where her cell phone last pinged. And right after this happened, the day when he got back, his Facebook was deleted. Tom, I was saying that I was reading on this other article. It's on the Upstate. It's a Upstate news blog, and it has way more information, locally than the mainstream does. But it was talking about how Peter, um, his dad's employers have a boat docked in the marina that's just a couple miles from where she was her cell phone last pinged. And that there were pictures of it on his Facebook, but when he came back and lawyered up that next day, his Facebook was deleted the next day. So that's another interesting fact.
Yeah.
And actually, it says that it was deleted before he even got back. His lawyer deleted his Facebook before he even returned all the way back to Rochester.
Right.
So then that tells me he has
This
ties
case has
to
so
the
many
area.
weird.
Yep. That's So then if he's a club promoter in New York and he has frequents that, area as a child and has ties in that area, that's even more suspicious.
Right.
And then what was it, Beth? What was there about Deshaun Taylor? Didn't he try to take, I need to look it up, another girl?
Sean Taylor. I'm sorry, what, Vanessa?
Didn't he try to take another girl after Brittany's disappearance? I'm almost positive that he did.
Yes. Yes, he did, and she got away.
So we know that he's capable of that.
That is exactly right. And that right there is very telling to me as well, that he would do that within it. That makes, a lot of sense if that is what happened.
Right. I was trying to find, yeah, here it is. So a year after she went missing, he was charged attempted kidnapping and first degree assault.
Right.
And another girl in Myrtle Beach. And it's not Deshaun, it's Deshaun's
Off
dad.
the strip.
Yeah. It's his father that did it. It kind of tells you what probably happened to Brittany. It says that a Tennessee woman reported that 3 men in a van approached her and tried to kidnap her on Ocean Boulevard. And that's exactly where Brittany was, correct?
That's right. But she was on the strip. I'm not exactly sure what part of the strip that she was on. The strip is just one straight road that goes down, and it's just full. I don't know if you guys have ever been to any. I mean, it would be something similar to like the strip in Vegas at a very much smaller scale.
Mm-hmm. I think it was when I looked at the map. So she's on the same strip a year later, and he's connected to a van pulling up and trying to grab her with 3 men and throw her into the van.
Right.
So it sounds like almost like a setup the whole way around. Maybe that's just what they do.
Well, and it could be something that they've done before. I mean, who even knows? There's missing people all the time, and this could be something that they've done multiple times.
And what's even weirder is where they tried to abduct her from is in front of the exact same hotel, the Blue Water Inn. So to me, that says it all right there.
Right. And I have actually walked from the Blue Harbor when I was there on my senior week. We stayed there, and I have actually walked to the Blue Waters. So, it's looking back on it now, I was with a friend, but I was just with a girl that's my friend, and you never know, something like that could happen. It's really scary.
Yeah. Well, so maybe that's why he stayed at that particular hotel then. Maybe that's the deal. They stay there, they lure the
Yeah,
girls out somehow, and that's their.
that would make. And anybody can be involved in something like that. Obviously, when you study true crime, you understand that people are not always what they seem, and they can be involved in things that you would never even imagine. So Peter could have been involved, even through his clubs in Rochester, with some form of sex trafficking or something like that. He could have set her up.
Yeah. I wonder if Dana's still here. That's really interesting. I agree. I think from that piece that I'm just now read, yeah, I absolutely agree.
Right.
Which so then, maybe she is alive then. Well, or was.
I know, and the problem is, if she is alive, the possibility of finding her once she is in that type of situation would be extremely hard. She could be in another country. She could be
Hmm.
halfway across the world. The sex trafficking trade is, worldwide, and I happen to know that people are trafficked into this country from other countries, and she could be in the United States. She could be, you know, anywhere really.
Yeah, and what were they saying? You were talking to me about it earlier about what investigators said about human trafficking there, or something odd about the language.
Right. It made no sense to me. When her family was in Myrtle Beach, and at that point they were kind of saying, we're not sure still what's going on. But after they had come back, eventually the police told them, we don't have a sex trafficking problem in Myrtle Beach. We are highly doubtful that that is what happened to her. We believe that she has been murdered. So they full fledgedly believe that she was dead. But her parents, at that point, like I said, I don't want to speak for them now. I'm not sure what they think after all this other evidence has came out. But at that point, they disagreed with law enforcement. They felt like, and maybe that's a parent wanting to think that your child is still alive, even in the most horrific circumstance. I don't know. I've never been in that situation, so I can't imagine. But at that point in time, they felt like she was in the sex trafficking ring, but the police felt like she was dead.
Right. And from everything I'm seeing here, they call them the Taylor crime family. And it looks like they've
Hmm.
been, I mean, there are so many charges here and they never seem to stick. They never seem to,
Right.
I don't know how that, so, I mean, there's too many charges to count of Deshaun and
Right.
his dad. And there's been multiple women that have gone missing from this area and the area
Right.
that they live in for years.
So you never know. They could be same situation. And I find it, I'll be honest, um, I find it difficult in today's times for any place to say that they don't have a sex trafficking problem. I live in a very rural area, and I know that that has even happened here. So sex trafficking is everywhere. So I'm not sure what the purpose was behind saying that, but that would be a possibility anywhere you are.
What's number one? Beck Wilson says they're number one in the state for trafficking. You mean Myrtle Beach? Any connection to T?
Right. The, the Myrtle Beach Police Department, and was the detectives were telling them, we just don't have that problem here. We really just can't see that being what happened. But I don't want to say I don't buy that. I just believe that sex trafficking is everywhere. And again, this was in 2008. I don't know Myrtle Beach's statistics on sex trafficking in 2020, but I still feel like that is a definite possibility. And I'm somewhat shocked that they didn't think that, and they may now. I don't know, but at the time, they felt like she was dead.
Well, BC Mom, maybe I bet you T was living there at the time. You know what's really upsetting though is I'm looking at this. There's been women going missing since 1998 that have been connected to the Taylors. And one of them, her car was found burned and her body was found in the woods, and charges dismissed, even though they suspected him involved. And since then, women have been going missing, linked to that family,
Right.
and charges dismissed.
My best friend Beth lives in South Carolina, and she just wrote in, yet they are the number one state for sex trafficking. So that is not a very valid statement to say they don't have a problem with that, considering that South Carolina is number one, and in the state. I guess Myrtle Beach is number one. Excuse me, in the state for sex trafficking. Beck might correct me on that.
BZ Mama.
Horry County.
Horry County.
Horry County would be Horry County. Horry. Thanks, Beck.
Thank you, Beck. BZ Mama asked if Tisha was connected to another murder there. She just happened to live in the same apartment complex as Heather Elvis, which is just a weird connection. That's a whole other thing. But she did live in the apartment complex of another woman who disappeared when she lived there.
All right.
Yes, this is the girl. That strip is seedy, Leanne says. Yeah, this is Brittany. So now it makes me think, obviously, there's a whole bigger thing here. If they're obviously protected in some way by people.
I agree, Joan. The likelihood of her even surviving the sex trade is, so many girls, they drug them so much. You're talking about overdoses. They, beat them if they get out of line. They kill them. I mean, it's the worst circumstance. So there's no guarantee, even if she is in the trafficking. I agree that there's still no guarantee she's alive.
And I know they started a foundation for her, but that's so sad. I mean, I'm going to guess that they're never going to know the answer.
Right.
No, Leanne, I can't either. I cannot imagine the hell her parents go through. I mean, this is where I know how nuts that I am, because if that were me, I would be, I don't even know what I would do, but I kind of do, but.
You want them to have the closure, because the wondering would torture you. I mean, forever, just never truly knowing what happened to your child. I can't imagine that.
No, I can't either. I would have all my crazy out. They'd have to kill me, I think.
Oh. You just wonder how they even get through the day, to be honest.
Leanne, same. I'd do the world a favor, and gladly. Yeah. Same, Debbie. The not knowing as a parent, I think, would be the absolute worst. So I
Worst,
don't know.
the worst.
And the article that I read from 2019, they said that they're being really tight-lipped about it. They said they do have information that they can't release. They did go and search that second trailer. But I mean, that's why I always think social media, public pressure, keep talking about cases. Don't let them go quiet. That's so important.
That's right.
That's a good question. Let's see. I feel like Dana left. I would love for her to just sit here and talk to us about Peter and everyone. I don't know where he is now. That's a great question. But I'm about to look him up. Let's see if he has. Let's see what Peter's up to.
I'm not sure where he is now. Totally agree, Tiffany. We are the victims' voices. That's why we do what we do. The victims' fairness. So I completely agree. We can be the voices for the victims.
I agree.
We all can.
I agree. And I don't know, did you see anything? I don't think he was ever questioned. Was he? Like ever?
I never saw one thing in all my research of this case that he was ever questioned.
Oh, so there's all kinds of Facebook groups just called Peter. Why not tell us what happened? I wonder if that's what Dana was talking about. Yeah. Maybe that's what Dana was referring to. I'm about to go join that group.
Possibly so.
Yeah. That's definitely a rabbit hole I'm probably going to go down. That's really interesting. Okay, so it says he did get interviewed, but he had a lawyer and...
Yeah, that's so weird to have a lawyer the next day. That's just like, especially when you don't even definitively know fully that she is actually missing due to some sort of, something bad happening. He didn't know that yet unless he already knew it, unless he was a part of it and knew what was coming.
And as of the latest article, it does say that he's not considered a suspect. They did question him and the two friends. And then they did say they have evidence that Brittany was held against her will in 3 different places: Georgetown, McClellanville, and North Charleston. And
I agree, Leanne. They're shameless in that. They absolutely are.
so, yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Beth. I think this sounds like a operation they've been doing for a while. I'm not saying Peter, but I am saying it looks awfully suspicious.
Right, exactly. And like I said, people go missing all the time, and there's different types of people. Not everyone has a family that will be desperately looking for them, or even has someone to call the police to report that they're missing. So,
Yeah. I know. Yeah, I couldn't find anything else. And that's actually new to me. I didn't see that before. So I'm going to look more into that for sure.
Right.
But yeah, definitely just a really tragic, awful case. Hawaii was scary when you were there?
What, hun?
Oh,
in the chat.
Yeah. She said Hawaii. Exactly, Joan.
Right.
Yeah, I agree, Jennifer. And that is, right now I've got the spring break cases on my mind. So that's actually what we're going to talk about next Wednesday. is Natalie Holloway's case.
That's one of the biggest cases for me that I've studied in my life. That one, Beth Holloway, I just can't imagine. That's going to be a really good live. You guys are going to want to catch that because Natalie Holloway is a very, very interesting case.
That's another one where your heart just breaks for their family.
Right. And everything they had to deal with the government, and then of course you're on Vandersloot.
Yeah.
So we'll discuss all that.
Yeah, for sure. That is the one that I also, you can just feel, there's some cases, I mean, everyone obviously is upset when their child, something happens to their child, but there's some cases you can just feel the mom's grief through when you're watching the video or watching TV. And that's one that you could just feel how devastated Beth and her ex-husband were. Thank you, Leanne. Yes, make sure you hit the bell and for the notification because we're going to do that next week. But I did want to
like button.
Yeah, thank you. Why would she have been taken? Because I don't think DLV is asking why would she have been taken after she left Peter's? Wouldn't it taken place on the way?
He could have possibly, I mean, you have no idea through that type of circuit. He could have possibly set that up. The only issue I have with that is, you know, when she had gone to see the friend down there, that had to be opportunistic. It seems opportunistic because who knew that she would be in that exact place at that time, except for her girlfriends that called her or texted and wanted her to bring the shorts back. So it's hard to know. I mean, but I think you could have set something, you know, when she left, he could have called and said, okay, she's headed down the strip. So there's multiple possibilities with that.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe, Natalie Holloway. We'll do next Wednesday. I'll write that down. Haley Cummings case. I need to look that one up. I'm not familiar with that one. But yeah, I wanted to do one on Brittany. I've always wanted to. I'm doing too many videos right now that I didn't want to miss the date. And we're so close to, I think we're only 4 days out from the anniversary of it. So I did want to do a show on her. And obviously if we hear any more information or we get any updates on it, we'll update you guys as well.
And wouldn't it be wonderful if they actually did figure out what happened? I really hope that at some point, some form of solid evidence comes in.
Mm-hmm. Leanne, I think she'd be 28 now. 28, 29.
Right.
So sad.
Oh, that's so sad.
I know. You think about that. She'd probably have a family and yeah, thank you guys for joining us. And like I said, we'll be doing, I've got other videos coming out, but as far as lives go, next Wednesday, same time, 3:00 Mountain Time, we're going to talk about Natalie Holloway. Oh, thank you, Joan. I'm so glad that you guys are a part of it. Yeah, Tiffany, she's beautiful.
She is.
Oh, thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, so thank you guys for joining us. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. It was so good to see all you guys.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Oh, good, Angelina. And I promise I'm going to go back and read all the comments. I think I missed like 75% of them, but I'll go back and read.
Thanks, Angelina.
Thank you, Leanne. We
We appreciate
you,
you, Leanne.
Thanks. Okay, I have to jump in because I do think that, yeah, I'm almost positive that Beth dated John Ramsey briefly. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Tiffany. I have another one coming out. It's almost done. Thank you, Jonah. I need to go make dinner. I'm sure it's about that time. My kids are getting hangry. So thank you. And thank you, Beth,
Thank you so much, Joan.
Thank you for coming on tonight, Beth.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you guys have me on.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump
so
off.
Glad to be a part of the team.
And yeah, we're so glad to have you. I know there's a delay, so thanks for putting up with that, you guys. It's just the way it is. Oh, good.
With everything going on the internet.
I know. Well, and it's annoying because it's like the perfect amount of time. It's like 20 seconds and it drives me nuts.
I know.
It's like, thank you, Karima. All right, I'm going to jump off because I have to make my kids food. They're actually not little. They just make me cook them dinner. All right, bye,
Thank
Beezy
you
Mama.
all so much for and for listening.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to the
mods.
At least
now we've raised.
I've got so much to go catch up on. Bye, B. Shelligan. Thank you.
Bye, Shelligan.
Thanks, Leanne. And, we'll have some stuff out before Wednesday, but we'll be back for that live. So, yeah. Yes, Angelina, that is teens. Thank you, Tom. All right, I'm going to jump off. Thank you, Beth. I appreciate you so much coming on, and I thank the mods too. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. You guys have a good evening.
Your Facebook chat. All right, bye, guys.